Okay, so Requiem is finally out. It's been out for a few days now, and I did kind of disappear off YouTube for about a week beforehand, and that's basically because the game leaked, and I didn't want to see anything about it before it came out, because I was never planning to kind of stream the game at launch or cover the game like fully at launch. I wanted to kind of play it for myself. Now I've done that, so I can come back to the internet safely and not have anything spoiled for me. Thankfully, nothing did get spoiled that was anything kind of important. I did see one thing, but it wasn't really like a big oh my god thing, so that's fine. But the game is out, and it's been pretty well received, I'd say. I think most people are saying it's really good, and I've not really seen any complaints that are huge about the game. Maybe some small things here and there, but yeah, I'd say the game's been very well received. So with this video, I want to kind of lay some of my own thoughts out there. This is not going to be a spoilery video, by the way, so if anyone's kind of worried about massive spoilers, this is not the video that's going to be covering that. I will be covering more specifics later in the week and going into next week. I kind of just wanted to give the game at least a week-ish to kind of stew before I started making videos talking about other things. There's a lot to talk about in terms of other things in this game, but I'll leave those topics for those videos. So it's just going to be an overall kind of just some generalized thoughts I have with the game as a whole. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about the kind of the main kind of selling point for this game, I suppose, and that was kind of the whole dual protagonist way of playing it. So obviously you've got Grace and you've got Leon, both playable characters, both very different in how you play them. Leon being more action focused and Grace being more of the kind of old school survival horror type gameplay. Now I thoroughly enjoyed playing both characters. I think both character sections of the game are very well done. It doesn't flip-flop between the characters as much as you expect it to. Like early on, it does kind of change between them every now and again, but for the most part, both characters have like a bulk of the game where you're playing as that character, and it flows quite well. I think there's some weird pacing issues with it at times, but it's good that they have like this big chunk of game each rather than it being like a constant back and forth. I do prefer that. I'll straight up say it, I did definitely prefer Grace's sections more than Leon's sections, and that's not saying Leon's sections are bad by any means. They're really, really good. The action in this game is crazy. It's kind of like the 4 remake, but a bit more kind of fine-tuned and made better in certain ways. But me being me, I do prefer the old school style of Resident Evil, so the gameplay kind of loop from the first 3, 7, the more survival horror kind of way of playing, and the Rhodes Hill Clinic, which is Grace's kind of section of the game, is very, very good in that regard. It feels very much like I'm playing like an older games kind of section, where there's puzzles, items to find, limited inventory. It has all the things there that make that experience what it is, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, flipping to Leon, obviously action focus. His section, his bulky section, is obviously the Raccoon City section. I always said leading up to the game launching that it wouldn't make sense if Leon wasn't the primary in the Raccoon City parts of the game, because obviously it's more important to his character. And yeah, you pretty much play him exclusively through Raccoon City, which is what I expected. It's very good. The gameplay feels very cool. It's very, very intense when you're fighting. Like, it's not easy, I will say that. Like, I'm playing, so far at least, I've played on standard classic, which is obviously standard difficulty, but there's increments involved in Grace's section, and I'll get to that in a minute. But even the combat at times, you do feel like you're getting your ass kicked. Even in normal, there's certain sections where it's like, holy shit, it's not hard, but it's tough. You know, you really got to fight, and it's good. It feels good to play. The combat feels very kind of impactful and very satisfying. I haven't kind of delved into the hardest difficulty yet, and I'm trying to stay blind to that still for now, because that is something I usually kind of really dig into when I play a new game. I'm just kind of doing everything else first before I go into that. But I'm hoping it feels just as difficult as other games, hard modes. We'll see, obviously. But no, yeah, I mean, in terms of difficulty for the game as a whole, I think it is up there as being one of the more challenging normal difficulties in the Resident Evil game. Not impossible, definitely doable. I don't think any part of the game is going to be like feeling impossible, but there are definitely sections where it's challenging, and that is definitely a good thing. You know, you have to be challenged on the normal difficulty, because if it's a breeze on normal, why bother playing it on normal? You know what I mean? So that's my thoughts on the whole difficulty and the kind of difference between the characters in that regard. Another thing I do want to mention, obviously I did mention the standard classic mode, which is ink ribbons. I have not played any other mode other than that at this point. I'm very glad they brought that back. I have issue with it slightly. Obviously the issue I have is something that's completely optional. You haven't got to do this, but you get ink ribbons, you can save. Obviously that's the only way to save. If you don't, then you're losing progress to whatever the last save you made was as Grace. As Leon, you don't get that, so you can just save whenever you want. But there is the ability to craft ink ribbons, and I haven't done that. I never did that. I just used the ones that you found, which there's not a lot of. I don't know why they made that an option. I feel like it is better to kind of just find the ones that are already there and use those. Makes it feel more kind of similar to the originals. Obviously you don't have to do that, you can make more if you want to, but it does take away from them being like this limited thing when you get like a lot of materials where you can just make a lot more. But that's just one thing for me that I kind of just didn't really bother with. I just used the ones that were pre-made when you found them. So moving from the gameplay to the story, and I'm not really going to talk about the story too much here because there's a lot going on in the story in this game. I will say it is good. It does do a lot of very deep lore throwbacks. So not everyone who's probably a modern fan of the game is going to understand everything, I don't think. There's a lot in here that harkens back to pretty much every mainline game up to 9. So I can think of one thing at least that's either a reference or an actual mention, or obviously a big story point that does go back all the way to the first game. So there's a lot of that in here. I don't think everyone, like I said, who's maybe new to the series is going to understand everything, but the story, there's a lot going on and there's a lot to cover, but I don't want to talk about it too much here. But I do enjoy the story. I think it's very well done for the most part. There are bits that are a bit kind of weird that again I'll talk about in a different video. But all in all, if you kind of take it as like this self-contained story, it's good, it flows very well. But obviously there are a lot of points where it is not a self-contained story, and it is a big kind of culmination of a lot of big events throughout the whole franchise. So there's a lot to kind of digest and talk about, which we'll do in future videos. But yeah, I mean obviously that's pretty much all I want to say in this video. All in all, it's a very positive experience. I think a lot of the fans are enjoying this game, rightfully so. Hopefully all of you have enjoyed the game. Obviously let me know what you think of the game in the comments. Try to keep it as spoiler free as possible for this video, but going forward, probably within the next few days, I'm going to start making videos where it is more very specific about big parts of the game that may be considered spoilers. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm back to YouTube now. I did disappear for a week, but that was just to save myself from being spoiled for the game. So hopefully things will continue as normal from now. It won't just be Requiem, obviously we'll be doing all kinds of different stuff, but Requiem will be kind of a big thing on the channel for a bit now. So I'm very excited to kind of play through the game more, do more streams, more videos on the game, talk about a lot of interesting things to happen, and share some thoughts with you guys. So thank you for watching, hope you're enjoying the game, leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel for more Resident Evil content, and as always guys, I'll catch you in the next one.